So there are so many definitions for a leader. And one of my favorites is that leader is a person or yes, a person who has followers, just like that. Just having followers makes you a leader. Now, a leader and in general a person is tested, fully tested, and you know really who is when has everything and with an occasion it has nothing. So you can check who really a person is or a leader is when is facing adversity or when he's facing big success. So having said this, I can tell you that commanding in difficult times is both an art and a science. Perhaps in the middle, we can agree that is a kind of engineering process. So we can engineer how to command during difficult and uncertain times. But let me tell you something. On the battlefield and as well as in the construction site, respect is not given, but is gained by the hour. Because during stressful and difficult times, the people is watching you more closely than normal and is testing you and is watching the immediate results. So don't be confused by leading during difficult times because it's not a matter to be popular, but a matter to be effective, not only in real time, but for the posterity, for the eternity. So popularity is not part of the equation. You can be charismatic, but be not popular because popularity is when you are looking consensus. And in most difficult times, when time is of the essence, leaders are very alone, and in his own solitude, he must take a bold and rapid decisions to command and to command well and to obtain a great results for everyone. So the charismatic leader will have certainly an advantage, but let me tell you something. A charismatic leader and a good leader is not looking for popularity, not looking to be popular, uh, because chances are that during difficult times, people and the society gets in big shock. And let me tell you something. I have seen friends of mine, powerful and rich people, a lot of them in shock. And when they get in shock collectively as a society, they make more mistakes. So I will never forget the time back in 2011 when during the Fukushima earthquake and tsunami, the Japanese got in shock. And I was trying to help them from outside because they were making so many mistakes and not taking uh, fast decisions and rapid response cost a lot for them. They are a culture, a very resilient culture, and they are very persistent. So they survive it, and as evidence of that is that they just are finishing the Olympics against all the odds. But when the catastrophe occurs, let me tell you something. I was witness in first sight that they were in shock. Uh, they had the resources, they had the technology to get a fast response and a great solution in real time, but they miss it. But I'm not blaming them because it happens. The corrective shock happens a lot. Then I remember I will never forget the time when I was building the special building for the NAS client, very important client for me that time, the narcotic affairs section. I was building that building for the NAS inside the U.S. Embassy in Bogota, Colombia, when the September 11 happens. So back then, 2001, the 11th of September at 8:30, 8:45, I was there. Technically and officially, I was in American USA, in CONUS, continental United States territory in that time, and I was looking to my friends, and they were in shock as well. I am not blaming them, but let me tell you, I didn't get in shock because I was an outsider. I was a kind of insider and outsider. So I was having a big advantage. I was affected emotionally, of course, because I was working with them. They were my allies, but I was also an outsider. Therefore, I helped them a lot, let me tell you. Because back then, at that night, I was the only Colombian allowed to be on the American embassy that day. All the foreigners were evacuated in real time. I stayed there in the embassy all day long. Wait until the RSO guy, regional security officer, is the guy responsible for the security of the ambassador and all the security affairs. I was waiting for my friend Dan Mihan, that was the RSO at the time. So we met at 10 p.m. September 11, 2001 at the U.S. American Embassy in Bogota. Um, he was scared in form of angriness, so he was a little bit angrier, but I evaluated him very fast and I could foresee and make my due diligence in real time very quick that he was really those kind of kids when he was a kid that when they in panic they express they fear in form of anger anger. So I made the correct lecture, so I was very calm, and after the first awkward and very difficult encounter with him, I finally took me almost 2.5 hours to convince him to continue doing our construction job the next day, despite the situation, because otherwise terrorists who would have been want. I won't allow terrorists to want, so I convinced Mr. Dan Mihan to continue 20 less than 12 hours later working on site. Was difficult because the security checks and the security regulation was a nightmare for people working inside the embassy. But uh, just became a security guy on September 12 in order to complete the building for the NAS, in order to motivate my American fellows to continue working and building the high priority building despite the tragedy and the attack. So we continued in doing so. So I had to take that difficult situation for me because for me it was very easy just to take vacations, has a very high excuse and get my bonus bonification in advance because that was the easy way to do it. Just big excuse, let me tell you something, but I'm not that type of guy. So I took the challenge very seriously. Not only that, but I took very soft and gently, but let me tell you, leading position in that project in order to make that happen. And So every single day was on a struggle with the security guys that are very tough guys. Uh, so from there, the critical path to complete that project was security and checking my personnel, my engineers, my contractors, and get the security clearance to access to the construction site was quite difficult, but not impossible. So I had to make a change of both style and strategy of leadership in that project. So I had only one option to do the army way. I recognize with the prudence that gives you the time and the wisdom of time that I became a little bit a dictator for that project. That, but that particular style of management, dictator with a lot of stamina, was very proper for that particular case. I just gave instructions to my subcontractors and my people, and the engineers and the design team just to follow my instructions. So let me tell you, it was not popular, but very effective. Just pushing the envelope, pushing the people to the limit in order to complete the project during the war, basically, during the war of terror. So uh, But I should recognize as well that I was in denial as well. I was in denial. I was working so hard, perhaps to deny that we were facing that painful situation. So I recognized that I was in denial, so much in denial that when I completed the project on time, on budget, uh, and with satisfaction of the uh, my client, the Department of States of United States of America. I just traveled to USA just with the excuse to take a deserved rest and tourist trip to Florida. But deep in my soul, deep in my soul, I was trying to get there in to ground zero. So I was there. I obviously would stay just a couple of days in Florida, but then I went to ground zero. I will tell you later how was that visit.